After the age of 60, the mornings are not just another part of the day. They are the most powerful window you have to influence how long and how well you live. I'm not exaggerating. Researchers call the first hour after waking the body's golden hour. It's when your circulation changes, your blood pressure shifts, your hormones surge, and your brain is most sensitive to the choices you make. Think about it. For decades, you've had morning routines that seemed harmless. Maybe you reach straight for the coffee pot. Maybe you skip breakfast. Maybe you check your phone before you've even stood up. But what if I told you that these simple choices are quietly shaping your risk for heart attacks, strokes, memory loss, and muscle decline? And what if just one or two healthier habits in the morning could dramatically change that picture? Let's be clear here. No one can promise you exactly 25 more years of life. That's a dramatic way to make you stop and think. But what science does show is that the habits you repeat every morning after 60 are directly linked to how long you stay independent, how sharp your memory stays, and how strong your body feels. In other words, how much life you'll be living in those years you have left. Here's what happens in your body first thing in the morning. Your blood is thicker because you haven't had water for 7 to 8 hours. Your blood pressure naturally spikes. It's the highest it will be all day. Stress hormones like cortisol rise sharply to wake you up. Your muscles and arteries are stiff from rest. Put those together and you've got what doctors call a physiological storm. For someone under 30, it's not a big deal. But after 60, when arteries may be less flexible and muscle mass lower, it's a vulnerable window. That's why strokes and heart attacks are most likely to happen in the morning hours. The good news? This isn't about fear, it's about opportunity. Because once you know the risk, you can use that golden hour to flip the script. A glass of warm water can thin the blood. Gentle stretches can open the arteries. A light protein-rich breakfast can fuel the muscles. And a few minutes of calm can lower blood pressure before the day even begins. That's what this video is about. The morning choices that can protect your heart, sharpen your brain, keep your legs strong, and maybe, just maybe, add years to your life. Small steps, repeated daily, add up to decades of difference. So let's dive in. In the next segment, we'll break down the science of why your morning after 60 is so unique, and why what you do in those first minutes matters far more than you think. So why do doctors call the morning hours the body's most dangerous time, especially after 60? Let's step inside the body for a moment. Imagine you've just opened your eyes after a full night's sleep. On the surface, you feel rested, but inside, your body is going through a perfect storm of changes. First, your blood is thicker. You've gone 7 to 8 hours without drinking water. That means less volume and stickier blood. Picture honey flowing through a straw instead of water, harder to push, slower to move. That's what your heart is dealing with as soon as you wake. Second, your stress hormone, cortisol, spikes sharply. This isn't a bad thing in itself. Cortisol is like your built-in alarm clock. It raises blood sugar, quickens alertness, and gets you moving. But after 60, when arteries may already be stiff or narrowed, that surge becomes more than a wake-up call. It's a stress test. Third, your blood pressure shoots up. Scientists call this the morning surge. It's normal for pressure to peak after waking. But here's the catch. Most strokes and heart attacks happen in these very hours. Why? Because the blood is thick, the vessels are stiff, and the pressure is climbing, all at the same time. Now imagine you jump straight out of bed, rush to the kitchen, pour coffee before water, and open the news on your phone. Without knowing it, you've just poured gasoline on a fire your body was already struggling to control. But here's the hopeful part. Just as these morning shifts can raise risk, they can also be your greatest opportunity. If you hydrate first, you thin the blood. If you move gently instead of rushing, you stretch and soften the arteries. If you feed your muscles with a little protein, you stabilize energy and prevent dizziness. And if you start with calm, not chaos, you protect your heart from unnecessary spikes. It's a crossroads moment. The body after 60 is like a car engine with many miles on it. You can slam the accelerator on a cold morning and risk damage. Or you can warm it up gently, letting it run smoothly for many more years. So, when I say doing this in the morning could add 25 more years, what I mean is this. It's not about one trick. It's about using that golden hour wisely. It's about stacking small protective habits that, over weeks and years, add up to longer life and stronger independence. And here's the best part. These habits aren't expensive, complicated, or hard. They're simple steps you can start tomorrow. And in the next segment, we'll begin with the very first one. The easiest, cheapest, and most powerful change you can make as soon as you wake up. It's so simple you might overlook it, but it can literally save your life. So what's the very first step to protect your health in the morning after 60? Before coffee, before breakfast, before anything else? It's water. Now, you might think, water? That's too simple. How could that matter? But let me tell you why it matters more than you realize. After 7 to 8 hours of sleep, your body wakes up in a state of mild dehydration. You haven't had a sip of liquid all night. Your blood is thicker, your circulation slower, and your heart has to push harder. For a 25-year-old, that's not a big deal. But after 60, when arteries are less flexible and the heart is under more strain, that morning dehydration can be the quiet trigger behind fatigue, dizziness, and even cardiovascular events. Here's a story. I once spoke with a woman in her late 60s. Let's call her Maria. She used to start every morning with 2 cups of coffee and nothing else. By mid-morning, she often felt lightheaded. She assumed it was just old age. When her doctor suggested she start her mornings with a glass of warm water before her coffee, she tried it reluctantly. Within weeks, she noticed something surprising. Fewer dizzy spells, steadier energy, and even less craving for sugary snacks mid-morning. That one change, just water, was a turning point. But why warm water? Warm water is easier on the stomach, stimulates digestion, and helps blood vessels relax. It's like giving your system a gentle nudge awake instead of a shock. Think of it as oiling the gears before running the machine. The benefits go beyond just circulation. Warm water helps flush out metabolic waste. Your body has been clearing overnight. It supports digestion, preventing sluggishness or bloating later in the day. It primes your muscles for movement by delivering oxygen and nutrients more efficiently. And here's a practical tip. Keep a glass or bottle of water by your bedside. That way, the first thing you see when you wake isn't your phone or your coffee cup. It's a simple reminder to hydrate. Of course, moderation is key. 1 glass, about 200 to 300 milliliters, is enough to start. Too much water at once can strain the kidneys, especially in seniors managing certain conditions. That's why I'll say this again and again. Before making a new habit, always check with your doctor, especially if you're on medication for blood pressure or kidney health. So, the first protective habit in your golden hour is clear. Replenish before you stimulate. Water before coffee. Hydration before stress. That single glass is like opening a window and letting fresh air into your body. And now that we've hydrated the body, let's move into the second morning habit. One that doesn't require fancy equipment or a gym membership. It's about gentle movement, the kind that wakes up your arteries, loosens your muscles, and tells your brain, I am ready for the day. Now that your body is hydrated and the blood is flowing a little easier, it's time for the second morning habit, movement. But not the kind that makes you break a sweat or feel out of breath. No, this is about gentle movement, the kind that wakes your muscles, loosens your joints, and tells your brain, I am ready for this day. Here's why it matters. When you've been lying still all night, blood tends to pool in the lower body. Your muscles and arteries are stiff, almost like a garden hose that hasn't been used since yesterday. If you suddenly jump up and rush around, you're asking your heart to pump thick, sluggish blood through stiff pipes. That's a recipe for dizziness, falls, or worse. But if you ease your body awake with gentle stretching, you smooth the transition, protect your arteries, and get oxygen flowing to your legs and brain. Let me paint a picture. Imagine a man named Robert, 68 years old. For years, he'd roll out of bed and head straight to the kitchen, only to feel lightheaded or off balance. His doctor suggested something simple. Before standing up, spend 2 minutes moving. Robert started rolling his ankles, stretching his arms overhead, and taking a few deep breaths while still sitting on the edge of the bed. The result? Fewer dizzy spells, steadier mornings, and even more energy on his daily walks. The science behind this is clear. Movement stimulates circulation, tells your muscles to switch from sleep mode to active mode, and primes your brain for balance. It's like warming up a car engine before driving on a cold morning. Here are a few simple moves you can try. While lying down, rotate your ankles and wrists in slow circles. Sitting up, roll your shoulders forward and back. Gently stretch your arms overhead. Standing slowly, once you're upright, march lightly in place for 30 seconds to get blood flowing. None of these require equipment. They don't take more than 3 to 5 minutes, but they reduce stiffness, lower your risk of falls, and set the stage for better mobility all day long. And here's the secret. You don't need a long workout, you just need consistency. A few minutes of gentle stretching every morning after hydration signals to your body, I am alive, I am moving, I am ready. Over time, these little rituals protect independence far more than you'd imagine. So first, hydrate. Second, move gently. You've already reduced your risk of dizziness, falls, and circulation strain. But there's more. Because once your body is awake, your muscles need fuel. And in the next segment, we'll reveal the third morning habit. One that has everything to do with feeding your brain and muscles so they can carry you through the day with strength. Hydration wakes the body, movement warms the muscles, but now comes the third step, giving your body the fuel it needs. And here's where many seniors stumble. Breakfast. Some skip it completely thinking, I don't really feel hungry, I'll just wait until lunch. Others grab something quick, like toast with jam or a sweet pastry. It seems harmless, but let's look at what's really happening inside the body after 60 when you start the day this way. Overnight, your brain and muscles have burned through stored glucose, their main fuel. By morning, your tank is nearly empty. If you skip breakfast, your body continues running on fumes, leaving you feeling lightheaded, weak, or foggy. If you grab something sugary, your blood sugar spikes and then crashes, leaving you even more tired. And with weaker muscles and slower recovery after 60, these ups and downs hit harder. What your body needs in this golden hour is not sugar, but protein. Protein gives your muscles the building blocks to stay strong. It helps maintain balance, prevents falls, and even protects memory by stabilizing blood sugar. Let me tell you about Sam, a 71-year-old who always skipped breakfast. He thought it was healthy because he had heard about fasting. But by late morning, he'd feel shaky and sometimes even stumble when standing. His doctor suggested a small protein-rich breakfast instead of skipping. Sam started with just 1 boiled egg and a handful of walnuts. Within weeks, he noticed he wasn't crashing mid-morning, and his legs felt steadier when he went out for his daily walk. Small change, big difference. So what does a muscle-friendly breakfast look like? It doesn't have to be complicated. 1 boiled egg with a slice of whole grain toast, a small bowl of oatmeal topped with nuts or seeds, a few slices of avocado with whole grain crackers, Greek yogurt with a sprinkle of berries. These options are rich in protein, healthy fats, and steady carbohydrates, fuel that doesn't spike and crash, but sustains. And here's the key. You don't need a large meal. Seniors often do better with light but balanced portions. Think of it as giving your muscles a promise. You will be supported today. Now, one important reminder. Always check with your doctor, especially if you're managing diabetes or on blood sugar-lowering medication. What works for one person may need adjusting for another. So by this point in the morning, you've hydrated your body, gently moved to wake up circulation, and fed your muscles and brain with the right kind of fuel. 3 small steps: water, movement, protein, and already you've shifted your risk from fragile to fortified. But there's still one more powerful habit to add, and it doesn't come on a plate or in a glass. In the next segment, we'll talk about something invisible, but just as critical: the state of your mind. Because the way you start mentally each morning can either strain your heart or protect it for years to come. You've hydrated, you've moved, and you've fueled your muscles, but there's still one powerful piece missing. And it doesn't come from food or water. It comes from the way you treat your mind in those first minutes of the day. Let's be honest. What's the first thing many of us do after waking? We reach for the phone, we scroll through news, check emails, or glance at headlines that raise our blood pressure before we've even brushed our teeth. And here's the hidden danger. When you flood your brain with stress first thing in the morning, your body responds as if it's under attack. Heart rate rises, blood vessels tighten, and that natural morning blood pressure surge we talked about earlier climbs even higher. After 60, this is risky. The arteries aren't as flexible, and the heart has already worked harder overnight. Adding a blast of stress before the day has even begun is like loading bricks onto a fragile bridge. Over time, that morning stress adds up, leading to memory problems, higher stroke risk, and greater fatigue. But here's the hopeful side. Just as stress can harm you, calm can heal you. Imagine starting your day not with chaos, but with quiet. Sitting by a window, watching the light change, or simply breathing deeply for 5 minutes. This small practice lowers cortisol, steadies blood pressure, and sends a message to your body. You are safe, you are supported, you can relax into this day. Let me tell you about Linda, 74 years old. She used to describe her mornings as a mad dash, checking messages, worrying about errands, trying to get everything done at once. She often felt her heart pounding before breakfast. On her doctor's advice, she tried something new. She gave herself a golden pause. For 10 minutes after waking, she left her phone aside, sipped her tea slowly, and just watched the birds outside her kitchen window. Within weeks, she noticed her mornings felt steadier. The pounding in her chest eased. Her doctor even noted a small but meaningful drop in her blood pressure. You don't need to meditate like a monk or sit in silence for hours. Just a few minutes of intentional calm can transform your morning. Some people pray, others write in a journal, some simply breathe. The practice doesn't matter as much as the principle. Protect your mind before the world invades it. And here's the best part. This calm doesn't just affect your heart today. Over years, it lowers your lifetime risk of cardiovascular disease and protects brain health. Scientists now know that managing stress is as important as managing diet and exercise for healthy aging. So, morning habit number 4 is clear: create a pocket of peace before you face the day. Protect your mind, and you protect your heart. But we're not done yet, because there's one more habit, often overlooked but incredibly powerful, that ties everything together, and it doesn't require supplements or gadgets. In the next segment, we'll explore how a simple gift from nature, morning sunlight, can reset your body's rhythm, strengthen your bones, and even protect your mood. We've hydrated, moved, fueled the body, and calmed the mind. But there's one more habit that often goes unnoticed. And yet, it may be one of the most powerful longevity tools you have: sunlight. Think about the last time you stepped outside in the early morning. The air felt fresher, the light softer, the world quieter. But beyond the feeling, something remarkable was happening inside your body. Morning sunlight was setting your internal clock, boosting your mood, and even strengthening your bones. Here's why it matters so much after 60. First, vitamin D. As we age, our bodies produce less vitamin D naturally, and it's harder to absorb it from food alone. Vitamin D is critical for bone strength and muscle function. Without it, bones weaken, fractures become more likely, and legs lose stability. Just 10 to 15 minutes of morning sunlight on your face and arms can give your body the raw material it needs to keep bones and muscles stronger. Second, sunlight resets your circadian rhythm, your body's internal clock. Seniors often struggle with sleep, falling asleep too early, waking up at odd hours, or feeling groggy during the day. Morning light tells your brain, it's time to be awake now, which helps release the right hormones at the right time. That leads to deeper sleep at night. And better rest means stronger muscles, sharper memory, and more energy during the day. And third, sunlight boosts mood. Light triggers the brain to release serotonin, the feel-good chemical. Seniors who start the day in natural light report less depression, more motivation to move, and even better appetite control. It's like nature's free antidepressant. Here's a story. George, 76, used to start his mornings indoors, watching TV news. His days felt sluggish, and he often napped by noon. His doctor suggested a simple change: 10 minutes of sunlight exposure in the morning while walking around his garden. George tried it. Within weeks, his sleep improved, his legs felt stronger, and he said, "I don't feel like I'm dragging myself through the day anymore." Now, a word of caution. The goal is gentle exposure, not sunbathing. Seniors have thinner, more sensitive skin, so avoid harsh midday rays. Stick to morning light, keep it brief, and always protect your skin if you'll be out longer. So the fifth habit in your golden hour is simple. Step outside. Let the sun reset your clock, feed your bones, and lift your mood. It's one of the easiest and most powerful steps you can take for your longevity. At this point, your morning routine is complete. Water, gentle movement, protein, calm, and sunlight. 5 small habits stacked together that can add not just years to your life, but life to your years. But before we wrap up, let's bring it all together in one final segment. In the next part, I'll give you a simple morning blueprint, a step-by-step plan you can follow tomorrow, and remind you why these little choices matter more than you think. So here we are. We've walked through the golden hour step by step: hydration, gentle movement, fueling your muscles, calming your mind, and stepping into the sun. Each of these on its own may feel small, but together they form a powerful blueprint, a morning routine that doesn't just prepare you for the day, it prepares you for the years ahead. Let's imagine tomorrow morning. You wake up, and instead of rushing into the day, you begin differently. You reach for that glass of warm water at your bedside, sip slowly, and feel your body rehydrating. You take a few minutes to circle your ankles, stretch your arms, breathe deeply, and rise with steadier balance. You head to the kitchen, and instead of skipping breakfast or grabbing something sugary, you give your muscles a promise. Maybe an egg, maybe a handful of nuts, something with protein. You sit quietly, without screens, maybe with tea or just a notebook, letting your mind wake up in peace instead of stress. And finally, you open the door, step into the gentle morning light, and let your body reset with nature's rhythm. 5 steps, 15 to 20 minutes, and you've completely changed the way your body moves into the day. Now here's what's remarkable. Research shows that these little daily choices are what make the difference between losing independence early and enjoying decades more of strength, balance, and energy. That's why some doctors call morning routines silent medicine. They don't work in days, they work in years. And that's how they can, in a very real way, add life to your years, and maybe years to your life. But let me give you one final reminder. Your body is unique. Your health history, your medications, your needs, all of these matter. That's why, before making big changes, you must talk to your doctor. Think of this blueprint not as a prescription, but as a guide, a series of gentle choices that you can shape to fit your life. So here's your challenge. Tomorrow, don't try to do everything at once. Just pick one of these habits. Maybe it's the glass of water, maybe it's 2 minutes of stretching, maybe it's sitting quietly with your thoughts. Start small and let it grow. Before you know it, you'll have built a routine that supports you day after day. And remember, this isn't about chasing youth or numbers on a calendar. It's about living those years with freedom, with independence, and with strength in your legs, your heart, and your mind. Now, I'd love to hear from you. In the comments below, tell me, which of these morning habits will you try first? And if this video gave you value, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share it with someone you care about. Because sometimes the simplest choices, a glass of water, a stretch, a moment of calm, are the ones that carry us the farthest.